Okay everybody, today what we're going to do is we're going to take you through how to size someone properly with the Match Tower. Alright, so what this will do is it will provide a rider with a bike size recommendation and also a starting saddle height recommendation. There are three measurements you're going to need to take. One is the top of the hip bone or the iliac crest. The second one is the center of the kneecap. And the third one is their ankle bone. Okay? So we'll start with the iliac crest. There's essentially three different ways that we like to find that iliac crest. The most popular way is to take the rider, have them find their lowest rib and push in and down, and then they will be directly on the hip bone. Okay? They can then leave their hand there and you can then use the Zin tool to take the measurement. The next way they could do it is to simply take their hands, put them right at their belly button, come straight to the side and push in, and they generally will be right at about the top of their hip bone. And then the last way is to just have them move side to side like this, and they'll start to feel where the actual pivot point is, and then they can sort of hone in on where the top of their hip bone is. All right? The next thing you need to do is find the center of their kneecap. In order to do that, I always ask my customers to essentially take their index finger and put it at the bottom of their kneecap and their thumb at the top of their kneecap. And then you just find the midpoint between the two of those. The final one is the ankle bone. The important thing here is that a lot of times riders will try to help you out by raising their knee in order to get it a little bit easier for you to get to it. Have them keep their foot flat on the ground because otherwise they've artificially shortened their leg when they've lifted their ankle. All right? But find right at the midpoint of that ankle bone, take the measurements, and you're good to go. A couple other things. One, it is important that the customer doesn't move once you start taking the measurements. It's important that when you do take the measurements, you're keeping the Zin tool as steady as possible because what it's doing is collecting the measurements and then it's averaging where those were captured in three-dimensional space to then give you an overall length. The last piece is, in terms of how long you press the Zin button here, call it 3 to 5 beeps, okay? Give it enough data that you're getting some good data to it, but you don't need to hold it there for 10, 15 beeps. All right, so the next step is essentially how you're gonna actually take the data using the Zin tool. So obviously take your Zin, put your wrist strap on just like this, and then the important thing is that when you have your Zin on and it's collecting data, these 4 LEDs that you can see at the edges of your Zin tool need to be visible to the vantage. So if I'm holding it and I hold it like this, only 2 of those 4 are actually visible. If I've got the rider and I'm collecting the data and I'm collecting it like this, none of those LEDs will be visible to the vantage. So it's important that when you are taking those data points, you are holding the vantage in a way that all 4 of these LEDs can be visible to the vantage motion capture system, and you're holding that nice and steady when you're doing that. Okay. All right, so let's go through a match session and actually take those bike measurements. One thing I want to hit on quickly before we even take those measurements, it does take a little bit of time to perfect the art of taking the measurements off of the customer. So if you've got match and you're feeling like you're getting inconsistent or inaccurate results, I would challenge you to, for 5 straight days, do 5 Retul Match sessions, and you will find that in that time, you become an expert as far as taking the measurements. You'll feel very confident in the results you're getting in the overall process. All right? So I'm going to stand over here. We're going to take some measurements. Okay. Knee. All right, so now we've collected data on both sides, and we get a recommended starting saddle height of 762, and my exact saddle height after going through Retool Fit is 762. So it nailed my saddle height to the millimeter. But just to show you how repeatable this is, what I'll do is I'll go to recapture both legs. My new recommended starting saddle height is 758. So within 4 millimeters of my actual fit height. Thanks very much.